Oh, a sheep.
A sheep? I can get you a sheep, but only if I'm your favorite uncle.
That's manipulative.
Wow, you drove a hard bargain. All right. Well, I can't keep an actual sheep.
No returns, no refunds, no worries. And maybe for once in your life, do something good.
Unnecessary.
It's Eid. Maybe you should give your sheep away for Qurban.
I might have to. I'll go for a walk.
As you would not believe it, I just got off the phone with Penny Appeal. You don't have to give away your sheep anymore because with Penny Appeal's Qurban, they'll just do it all for you, pals.
Keep your sheep.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. And welcome to the Center for Global Muslim Life and Launch Goods Hajj of the Hearts 10-day series. Today is a really exciting program where we're featuring the films of Hajj. We wanted to start by thanking our sponsors, obviously Launch Good and Center for Global Muslim Life at the center of everything. And then we have our Dhul Hijjah Challenge sponsors, our Dar al-Salam, Tariq al-Haramain, Saffron Road, UIF, the Islamic Shore Council of Southern California, Penny Appeal USA, and big shout out to Penny Appeal in Australia for that fun little short film. We have a really exciting program for you today. We're going to bring in our brothers Ovidio Salazar and Abrar Hussain. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam, everyone.
Yeah, it's really beautiful to see you both. So today we have films that represent almost 100 years of Mecca and the Hajj on film, and some really diverse films, some really beautiful, incredible films. You can check out the whole group of films at our website, the Center for Global Muslim Life. At the top page, you'll find the films of Hajj. So we're going to start, and maybe we could keep everyone together if you want, or to have this conversation. But I wanted to start with you, Ovidio. Could you talk a little bit about your journey? You've been shooting in Mecca for 13 years. I mean, you shot 13 different Hajj pilgrimages.
Yeah.
Tell me about how that happened. What was your first one like?
Right. Well, okay. Let me go back a bit. So what happened was in 1973, before you were all born, I was living in Istanbul. And one day I was walking along the street and I found a postcard that had been sort of ripped up. I didn't know what it was. It was a piece of paper. And I just picked it up and it was the Kaaba itself. And so I dusted it off and put it in my my coat pocket saying, it's like the word of God. It should be protected. It should be. This is an image of Beit Allah, and one should respect it and do all they can to preserve the image. And I kind of felt like, in a way, that was a subliminal seed that had been planted. That when I finally got an opportunity to start making films, one of the things that I gravitated towards was going to Mecca and to having this opportunity to film the Hajj and to do it in a way that showed it as the noble right that it is. So there you go. I mean, that was the first Hajj I made was in 1980, 1400, the year 1400. And I went for an organization that was called the Hajj Research Center. That was part of the King Abdulaziz University in Jeddah. And they were carrying out various investigations, research into everything to do with the Hajj in order to make it kind of a more enjoyable experience for the Hujjaj, for the pilgrims. And so that year I was assigned as a researcher to simply to make the Hajj with a group of pilgrims that were coming from Morocco. And the reason is that in those days, there was something called the Mutawaf system, and these were pilgrim guides, and they would actually travel the length and breadth of the world, going to as far afield as Morocco, Indonesia, India, and they were local residents of Mecca, and they would come and they would bring pilgrims back from their home countries and take them on the Hajj and sort of stay with them. And it was a very personal relationship that was built up between the pilgrim guides, the Mutawafs, and the pilgrims, so that there was this familial link. And then this tradition was passed on down through the sons, and so for generations, this was the tradition in how the pilgrims would come, and they would be trained. By the time they reached Mecca, they would have a deep understanding, or at least a more than a rudimentary understanding of what the requirements were as a pilgrim. So that was what my first Hajj was about in 1980. And then subsequently, I made films for the Ministry of Health, for the Hajj Research Center, on various aspects of the pilgrimage. Now, what I feel we've lost over the last 40 years is that sense of tradition. I mean, that's what I've tried to interject when I started directing films, to include those aspects of the pilgrimage that maybe have kind of fallen by the wayside somewhat as it's become much more popular. And well, not more popular, but in terms of the quantities, the vast numbers of people that nowadays make the pilgrimage. So, obviously they have to cater to this huge influx and the mass movement, or the mass, airplanes, the travel has become something that has allowed people, in one sense, to perform it much easier than when they had to travel overland or by ship, and it took them months and months. So,
yeah, I mean, things obviously totally changed, but I love that that you show that within the three films that we want to talk about today with your work are Hajj, The Journey of a Lifetime, which you made for BBC. And that film, I feel like you created a template for news organizations around the world, that they basically cut and pasted your film a number of times, and because it's really excellent. And then the second film, Circling the House of God, that you made with Martin Lings, that shows that what that journey used to be like when people took steamships, and how different it was with the footage from the 1940s and 1950s. And then finally, A Journey to Mecca, which you shoot then on IMAX. So, but let's start with Hajj, The Journey of a Lifetime. I feel like what's so unique about the films of Hajj, and the most moving parts, Hajj stories are told at this huge macro level generally, but it's the reality of the very personal transformation that comes with Hajj, that, as we know, those of us who've been on Umrah, those of us who've been on Hajj, those of us who've been in Mecca, know that it's the personal transformation that really matters. And you find one story that's really incredible in the Hajj, Journey of a Lifetime film, about Muhammad Jafar Qadri, who walked from India to Mecca. Could you tell me about him and how you found it?
Well, let me. Yes, I'll reboot. Say, obviously, when you're making a film, what's for me, what's crucial, what's critical, is finding the right characters, the people that will allow you to take that narrative and really make that thread run through to the end, so that you get a real sense of the journey that they undertook. So we were, by the grace of God, we were able to find three distinct personalities. One, a policeman who was with the Scotland Yard, here in London. Another who was a neurologist, who was a convert, a woman. And then a third young girl who just decided, from an Egyptian background, who decided maybe 2 weeks before to go on Hajj because her mother was going on Hajj. And I think that those three personalities kind of more or less dovetailed so that we followed the three of them, and they overlapped in terms of the journey, of the outward journey of the Hajj, where one could express the outer dimension, sort of the esoteric dimension of what it's like, the historical background to it. Another one expressing the internal, consciously, the internal sort of the spiritual dimension, and then the third, who is the young girl, almost like the soul that is being carried along and swept along in her impressions, because in a sense the others had more familiarity with the Hajj, so they were able to explain in a much more coherent, sort of almost lucid way, whereas the young girl, she was coming to the fresh impressions. She had never been on to Mecca before, and so in a sense it was refreshing to get this soul's the impact that the journey had on her. But along the way, one of the remarkable things that occurred was we met this Indian Haji who was, we were on our way to Medina, and we saw this man on the other side of the road traveling down back towards Mecca. It was a few days before the Hajj, and he was carrying with a chariot, a little cart, carrying it, and he's this Muhammad Jafar Qadri, who one of our cameraman had read about in the newspaper recently, and say, wait, this is the guy who's been walking from Bihar State. And we said, whoa, stop everything, turn around, we've got to go and meet him and film him and find out what his story was. So he gave us a very short little interview, and mashallah, he was someone who was, he was just radiant. I mean, he had been traveling very much with the intention of coming on Hajj, but stopping by the pilgrims, by the shrines of the saints, of the awliya Allah en route. So he'd been through Iran, through Iraq, through Syria, and then making his way down Jordan and then to Saudi Arabia. So he was going to get there just before the Hajj began. So it was really a remarkable, very moving encounter with him. In fact, I wish we could have made the film just with him if we'd known about it 2 years previously.
Yeah, that's incredible. And you never ran into him again?
No, unfortunately. I think we might have saw him once or around the Hajj Haram area, but no. And then I think he was offered transport back to his home country. I'm not sure whether he took them up on their offer or not.
What an amazing story. Okay, so then speaking of luminous beings, let's watch the trailer for Circling the House of Gods with Martin Lings.
I was teaching at the University of Cairo, and in '48 I realized that there was every year a group of people went from the university on the pilgrimage. To see these people, it was like a wonderful dream, and it was as if they had stepped from the pages of the Old Testament. It was like seeing figures from the time of Abraham himself.
MashaAllah. Really, really, really incredible footage. Tell us about this film. How did you know? And tell us about who Martin Lings was. I think some people may not know today. It's obviously
Right.
an important story. And where did you find the footage?
All right. Well, okay. So, well, I had met Dr. Lings when I was a young seeker. He was the head of the Oriental and Arabic manuscripts at the British Museum, British Library, and that was back in 1975. And he was an incredible, a remarkable presence and personality and intellect. And so we met him, and I had read an account of his journey to Mecca that was in a small journal that my wife she has a publishing company called Archetype, and she subsequently published this a book of it's called on Mecca from the earliest times. And anyway, Dr. Lings is someone that I studied with, but I could never really, pluck up the courage to ask him whether he would consent to allowing me to do an interview, because I didn't really want to take up any of his time. But he was very, very graciously, accommodating and allowed us to conduct this interview. And I had been in fact, making films in Saudi Arabia for many years, as well here in London, like for the one for the BBC and others. And so I've been kind of keeping my eye open for all of the archive, that related to Mecca and to Medina. And so I was able to kind of get a little collection of archive material that related to his journey. And then I spent a lot of time finding exactly the right places, when we edited it. We weren't under any time constraint, so we took a lot of care in the editing process to make it sort of match. And alhamdulillah, I think people enjoy this film. And it again, like we were speaking about the traditions and this vanishing world of what Hajj was like. You can imagine he performed it in 1948. It was the first year that electricity was introduced into Saudi Arabia, and it was only in the big cities. So as he said, he was spared the torment of the amplified microphones and things. When he heard the call to prayer, it was au naturel.
And that's one of the things we've been talking about this week, is the difference between tourism, where we have tourism now, and the reality of what hijrah is, the reality of really traveling to Allah, to know Allah. And even this idea that at those times you could look up and see the stars in Mecca and Medina, right? Like you're saying, there's no, just that only then, that's only about 70 years ago was there light in these cities. And now to see the opposite here in Abrar's film, right, that shows what the city is today, in a day in the Haram, it's really just striking to see the difference in what's become. That's why I think that this set of films taken together, you can get such an incredible view of what has become and what was also. And so it's a really, really powerful, beautiful film. I highly recommend that people watch it. Shout out to Alchemia, where you can watch the film online on their website, and also they have a channel on Amazon Prime. And then the third film is this Journey to Mecca film, where you were the location director during the pilgrimage itself, and you're shooting with these IMAX cameras, and there's this great shot of you that we had on the poster, shooting with this IMAX camera on. Can you talk about how did you lead up to that point, and talk about those films versus the other ones that you made?
Yes. Well, look, that was almost like going in, almost like I've never been in a war, but I could imagine if you're a cameraman or you were trying to make a film in the course of a campaign of some sort, that it would be approaching that. We had a crew of 70 people, 3 massive 70 millimeter film cameras, and you really had to be in place where you needed to be with plenty of time, way before the actual sort of thing that you wanted to film. Otherwise, you would completely, miss it. So months of planning went into this film. In fact, one of the executive producers, I think he spent up to 2 years just getting permissions in Riyadh. So he basically suffered what they call death by tea. He had to drink, in the antechambers before he would get to meet the prominent sheikhs or whoever was going to give him the permissions. He had to spend a lot of time drinking tea and making, small talk and pleasantries. But mashallah, he was a non-Muslim. So they came along with this idea that they would make a film about Ibn Battuta, his first pilgrimage that was subsequently to him to go on from there. He was originally from Tangier, to go on from there to China and India and all over the world. But his initial journey was to Mecca. So they had the idea that this would be a way of doing something that would show, a rapprochement. For IMAX films are made for the general public, for younger people. So there was a story woven into it, and so it's a drama documentary in that sense. And we were in charge. Them not being Muslims, they had to rely on me and the crew to capture those images to show the Hajj in the present context. So, like I said, those cameras had just come off of the Christopher Nolan's Batman. He had been filming with them, and so we got a hold of them, shipped them out to Mecca, and in fact, it was a major operation. So, there you go. I mean, that it wasn't something to be undertaken lightly.
So out of all of these different shoots, what do you remember your most beautiful moment, and what was the most difficult of the shoots also?
Goodness, that's quite a question, sweetie. I would say the first time I looked at I entered into the Haram and went, and was face to face with the Kaaba. It was like just as the Fajr sounded. This was 40 years ago, and I remember bursting into tears, because here's something that you've imagined and you've kind of projected yourself when you were praying towards, and then to be confronted with the reality of it was just overpowering. So I mean, it wasn't filming, but that was something that was obviously the first time you're there is very, very incredible and special. So as Sandy, who is the girl that I spoke about, I asked her in the journey of a lifetime for the BBC, I asked her, I said, so what was your first impression when you saw the Kaaba? And she said, oh my God. And then she thought a second, said, oh my God. I mean, oh my God. So it was one of those moments of, oh my God. So that was that. In terms of the overall sort of difficulties that I've experienced over the years, they've been manifold. I mean, every time we've filmed, new sets of difficulties cropped up, and with that came ease. So sometimes, you would have the right permissions, but you would encounter people that would try and prevent you nevertheless because they couldn't read or that, or, there was always something that would make it difficult. But with the other foot that you would walk, people would open, ahlan wa sahlan, they would open the doors and allow you to film right inside. So I've been very blessed, I have to say, over the years to have been able to film so many times there. And like I said, sometimes the heat would be, it would be up to 50 degrees centigrade. I mean, everything, just filming, people, heat stroke victims and things like that. But so in some of those, the filming that I did over the course of the years, they were for studies that would enable people to make improvements to the Hajj. Other times we filmed, the abattoirs where the slaughtering of the sheep went on. And now, as a result of the studies undertaken by the Hajj Research Center, they were able to implement this meat freezing facility. So they would freeze the meat and then ship it to refugees or to people in less better off conditions. So there you go. I mean, each Hajj has been unique for me in its own way. One pilgrimage we actually filmed. On the day of Arafat, we filmed. You saw a little clip of it. When they brought the new kiswa, so they replace the old kiswa when everyone's on Arafat that day. So when they come back, the old kiswa has been taken down and replaced by a new one. So again, though, that's something that not many people see because they're usually in Arafat that day. So it's been a journey for me. Yeah.
MashaAllah, beautiful. Let's bring in Abrar. Assalamu alaikum, Abrar.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. How you doing?
Good. Do you have any questions or reflections for Ovidio?
I mean, just hearing Ovidio's stories, it just brought back so many memories and so much, things that I can relate to in terms of especially the problems he faced with it. I can relate to the guy who was drowning in tea because it also took us 8 months to get the permissions, and that was non-stop work. But mostly I relate to when he first saw the Kaaba because I was quite fortunate. I didn't see the Kaaba the first time when I was making the film. I'd actually gone and done Umrah before I made the film. You see, before I even had an inkling that I would get the opportunity to make the film. So I actually went to see the Kaaba just as a pilgrim. I was just a normal pilgrim. I'd taken my mother from the UK. I'd said, no, one thing I definitely want to do, I want to take my mother to Umrah. We went for an Umrah. And the first time I saw the Kaaba, it was just, this overwhelming sense of, amazement and spirituality and all these things combined. And I literally just started crying. So really, yeah, I rate that very highly, that moment of first seeing the Kaaba. And I literally tried to recreate that moment in the film. Which I did through certain shots and through not showing the entire of the Kaaba, and then approached it with a slow tracking shot to the Kaaba, which would kind of make the audience who was watching it feel like they were just seeing the Kaaba for the first time, and we were kind of as if they were walking towards it. So yeah, I mean, fantastic memories, and I think brothers like Ovidio, they basically paved the way for filmmakers like myself to come through and to carry on this work of making films, in the Hajj and in Mecca and in the Haram.
Yeah, great. That reminds me of. Go back to the IMAX film. So we actually shot in the Haram with IMAX camera and with a Steadicam as well. So you can imagine trying to get the shot right because everything on an IMAX is amplified, massively. So we somehow managed to plant our minders and people strategically so that we could get this tracking shot and write down in, and then at the last moment you tilt up and you see the Haram right there in front of you. So you're winding your way through the thing. But for some reason, oh my God, this was going to be the last take because it was just also the camera was like jamming and that, and it somehow, it was like, why doesn't it want it? Almost like it was refusing to film the Haram. And people were mystified. And then they would take it out and they would look at it. The film's all right. They look in the magazine, the gate, everything is fine. They put it back, it films fine. They start to do it again and it messes up again. And we thought, oh my God, this is, and then, of course you have a limited time. So, you're under the constraint of, before the next prayer comes, you have to get in, get your shot, and while they're making tawaf, and then scrambola. And of course, so we managed to get it, and it worked, and everything was perfect. And just as we're getting there, a man puts his son on his shoulders. So the kid is like right in our shot, right smack dab in the middle of the frame. And I'm going, what? No, you. And he's going like waving. And it's like, I was, apoplectic.
Well, and we could start a little bit with our discussion before we go more into Abrar's film, because that's one of the questions I had for the discussion period is we had this whole conversation around spirituality and film during the film festival, but how do you make a film that conveys the true spiritual nature of Mecca? It's almost impossible. So were there anything that both of Abrar, will start with you, that you were thinking of to convey that spiritual essence through the filmmaking process?
Yeah, I think absolutely. And I don't know anyone else's personal experience. I haven't, Ovidio is basically the first other filmmaker I've met who's shot a film on this level in the Haram. So it's difficult for me to compare my experiences with anyone else. But one thing I'll say, you see, when we were making One Day in the Haram, we were literally in a spiritual bubble. Our film was differentiated by many of the films that had been made in the past, because our film focused on the people who worked in the Haram, who were there day in, day out. We deliberately stayed away from the worshippers who were coming from different countries and the local worshippers, because, that had been done. And obviously as a creative, you always want to do something new or something from a new angle. So we took the perspective of the workers. Now, the thing with the workers in the Haram, and we interviewed literally hundreds of these workers, and a final select few of these went into the final film, but we interviewed many of them and spoke to even more. The one thing that went through all of them is that they said to me at some point or other, they felt they had been ordained by God, by Allah, to work in Mecca. They thought this was something that had been given to them by God. Now, the thing is, when we were making One Day in the Haram, and even during the pre-production, see, this feeling of the workers, it transcended onto myself and onto the crew as well. So when we're talking about spirituality, it's like we literally believed that we had been chosen as a crew to be here in this holy place at this particular time to do this particular job. And that was, it was so spiritual. The whole process was spiritual, I think we were in such a bubble. I think even when pilgrims go to Mecca and they go for the 2 weeks or however long they go for a quick in and out, they're in a spiritual bubble, because you're in your ihram, you're surrounded by this majesty and beauty of Allah, and also you're surrounded by millions of people who are the same as you, have the same feeling as you. So the heightened sense of spirituality and being in a bubble is it's really tangible. It's something you can really feel. And I think every sort of scene in that film, because of the spirituality, actually made us feel very relaxed, because we were of such a strong belief that everything had been ordained by Allah, that we were here shooting this film because Allah had ordained it or given us permission to be in Mecca to shoot that film. So, for me as a filmmaker, it was kind of beautiful, because anything that was going wrong, as brother just mentioned, we'd had sometimes some beautiful shots and people were in the crowd going, hi. Hi, Muslims love the camera. Muslims love the camera, especially in Mecca. So when these things would happen, I actually wouldn't get stressed. I wasn't stressed that the budget was running out or the time was running out or the sun was going down or anything like this, because I just thought, hey, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained this, so it's going to be something good, so I can relax, So in that way, the spirituality and feeling the spirituality of shooting in Mecca actually benefited me and kept me calm. I don't know how I would have reacted if I didn't have that on such a strenuous shoot, because as Ovidio will tell you as well, shooting in Mecca it's no joke. It's one of the hardest places to shoot in the world. It's incredibly difficult to shoot there, and obviously the temperature and all these different factors make it so. But yeah, I felt the spiritual bubble we was in, and the ethos that we had in terms of Allah ordaining this film just made everything easy, and everything that we did there just felt like a blessing, to be honest.
Yeah, I second that. Yeah, that's a well put, Sidi. That's why I go back to this action when I picked up this piece of paper and put it in my pocket when I was in Istanbul, that I carried that as a sense you know, that is the intention, that every time you go there, you're very respectful, that you're not, you know, these people have often saved their entire lives in order to perform this sacred rite. And who are we, you know, upshots to come along and, hey, you're spoiling my shot, man.
It's
like,
so interesting you should say that, because one of our preoccupations while during the entire shoot was that we were very conscious of these people who had spent their whole entire life savings to make that one trip. Very conscious of this. And there's a really one of my favorite shots in One Day in the Haram is where we're filming a scene with the cleaners. I don't know if you remember this scene, and the cleaners are in their machines. They're not, you know, they're in those portable machines, and they're driving. And there's somebody praying randomly in the middle of the mataf, some way back from the Kaaba, where the shot. And it was just to see these machines go spread and go around this person, you know, that was kind of embodied how we felt about the worshippers. So, you know, because we felt that although we're making this big film, and although, you know, alhamdulillah, a lot of people are going to see this, going to spread a lot of positivity and benefit in the world. It's going to explain Islam to the world, you know, all these different benefits of making this film, you know, but we still didn't think that our film was more important than even that one worshipper's du'as. So that was all part of the spiritual bubble we were in as well. That was the feeling. And that carried on all the way through the film as well. Yeah, we were very, very respectful of the worshippers and ensuring we didn't encroach on them, ensuring that you know, we didn't get in the way of them, and we didn't disrupt their prayers especially. So that was the big things I took away from that shoot, actually.
And you learned to say, Mer bani bahi kamera ketaraf mate ko. Or la tatal camera la somat, you know, you have to learn it in about 10 different languages.
Yeah, we had the Haram guys who were doing all of that for us. So they all know. It's funny. Some of the workers, they've been taught certain words in multiple languages, so they don't understand that language. They might not understand Hindi or Punjabi or you know, African dialects, but they know stop and don't move or you know, move away from here. They know these words in multiple different dialects, which is one of the things they use to manage all the different types of people coming from different cultures around the world.
Exactly. You know? Well, that is Hajj, isn't it? All in a nutshell.
Inshallah. So let's look at a trailer from One Day in the Haram.
Imagine a place so sacred that God himself declared it a sanctuary. Mecca, a city literally carved from the mountains. For Muslims, the most holy place on earth. A place so revered that a non-Muslim is forbidden to even set foot in it. At the center of Mecca is the Haram. And at the center of the Haram is the Kaaba. This is the source, the center of the Muslim world, with unrestricted access across 24 hours. For the first time in history, witness the inner workings of the Haram, as seen through the eyes of the workers. And the Kaaba, as it's never been seen before.
MashaAllah, that looks great. Yeah,
alhamdulillah. And it really, I actually haven't watched that for a while, but it really does take you back to being there and filming, such a unique experience. And I suppose there's only kind of a handful of filmmakers in the world who've done substantial work in the Haram, because like I said before, it's not a easy place to go. It's not easy to get the permissions. It's not easy, especially to manage all the different stakeholders who have an interest in the Haram. There's so many different people who could potentially veto your project, so alhamdulillah. But what it just struck me about that, even just the first words of that trailer, like imagine a place, like even just those words, it's like this was really the kind of feeling that we were trying to give to an audience. Like, imagine this, that is something so spiritual, so so steeped in history and steeped in so much reverence. It was just an amazing experience, to be honest. And I think now coming out on the other side, kind of reflecting on this experience, somebody asked me this on a podcast the other day, like, how did it happen? How did you get? And I honestly can't explain it in any other way than to say, well, I feel, my answer is that I feel it was God's will. That's why it happened. Else, I think it's impossible to do, actually.
So tell us about how this project started, right? It's amazing to see this level of access. And of course, that's what's unique about this film is you literally are inside everywhere that, around the Kaaba, in the well of Zamzam, you have access to pretty much everything. Tell us how this happened.
I mean, to be honest, what happened, we took 8 months, as I mentioned, to get the permissions to shoot the film. Now, the thing is that process could have been a lot easier. When we first went to speak to various ministries about this, they thought that I wanted to make like a 5 or 10 minute kind of short film, and they were like, hey, yeah, we can do that, you can. And I was like, no, I don't want to make a 5 or 10 minute short film. I want to make a substantial film that is going to be seen all around the world by audiences in all different countries. And we want access to everything. We don't want, because I didn't want to go in there and take, have this opportunity to make a film and not do something that wasn't extraordinary, because the Haram, it's not ordinary, it's something just extraordinary. And so I actually jeopardized the whole project by saying, no, I don't want that level of access. I need this level of access, a complete access to everything and everyone, including the sheikhs, who are very difficult to get hold of. But every part of the Haram, all the departments. So, I think because we had that vision at the beginning to do something like that, and we knew what we were asking for, therefore it made it much easier. In terms of how it actually came about, I mean, funniest story, because basically, we spent 8 months banging our heads on different doors. I remember the very first meeting, because when we started and decided I want to make a film in the Haram, we didn't even know who we had to approach for permissions. We didn't even know that. So we're like, well, who should we approach? I said, my exec said, I know a good place to start. Let's go to the Ministry of Hajj and Umrah. Well, yeah, that's a logical place to start. So we went there, did this great presentation, really outlined my ideas, my vision, and how it was going to be. We had a meeting for about 4 hours. And at the end of this meeting, they go, man, this is amazing. We love this project, but we're not the ones you need to speak to. So then I was like, okay, so you're not. So then we spent the next few months just going to different ministries who apparently had the authorization, but it always ended up seeming that they had to then go up another level or to a different, like a sideways kind of other ministry you also had to get the permissions for. Our film actually only happened, and I was only confident that we had the go ahead once Sheikh Sadais got involved with it. I think somebody from Riyasa Haramain, a very good friend of mine, he managed to get us an audience with Sheikh Sadais. He said, if you really want this to happen without the kind of problems that other filmmakers have faced in this place, even with permission slips, as I think Ovidio just mentioned as well, even if you have the permissions, there is still a chance that a police will come and they'll say, no, we don't care.
Absolutely.
Yeah, finish. They will do that. So I didn't want to risk anything like that happening. So I said, okay, we need Sheikh Sadais to actually authorize this himself. So when we got that audience, I pitched the film to him. I said, this is what we want to do, and this, and at the end of my kind of pitch that I'd been building up to for a few days, all the Sheikh said was, okay, good, I like it. Literally, that's all he didn't sign anything, he didn't instruct anything, nothing like that. Just, okay, I like it. That was it. And we took a nice photo, and he went off. So I thought, okay, this is strange. Like, he hasn't really said much, but as soon as he left the room, his subordinates, shall we say, his people, they all came around me and they said, okay, what do you want? You know, what do you want? And I started just listing off, I need this, 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 and they said, okay, we're going to make everything happen for you now. And that's how it happened. It was literally that meeting. I mean, alhamdulillah, we always credit everything to Allah, that the permission and the authority to make the film came from Allah. But if I had to thank someone on the earth, then I'll probably thank Sheikh Sudais, because like I say, once he got involved, everything got so much easier, and all the doors opened after that.
MashaAllah. Yeah, that's really incredible. What
yeah, there's so many incredible stories, you know, from there. You know, like I describe it to people as miracles, because I literally see it as miracles. Because so many small little miracles happen during the pre-production and the production of our film. Like I said before, I can't equate them to anything else other than, well, this is God's will then. You know, I'll give you an example just off the top of my head. You know, we'd run out, you know, one of the things that distinguishes our film also, you know, from the films that were made in the past is obviously the use of drones. You know, drone technology wasn't around back then. So this added great value to our film. But we had drone shots, but we also wanted helicopters. We wanted to have helicopters for the big aerial city shots, right? The big shots. And we couldn't afford it. Because the quotes that were coming back for helicopters fly around Mecca were coming astronomical and way out of my budget. So we was kind of sitting there going, well, I guess we have to concede defeat on this. I really wanted those helicopter shots, but I guess we're not going to have them. So, you know, alhamdulillah. And what happens? Suddenly we get a call from someone who's in the Saudi Air Force. And they're saying, hey, we heard you're making this film in Mecca, and we're going to authorize the helicopters. We're going to give you the helicopters. And we actually ended up having 4 flights of 2 hours each. That's 8 hours of flying around Mecca, taking aerial shots. And so that's like a little miracle to me, because we had no contingency for this. We had no budget for this. So you know, little things like this that sided with us, that favored us, were just happening all the time, like on a daily basis. So it was incredible to see. And that's, like I said, that's why I felt so comfortable, because I thought, well, this is all being ordained by Allah. I don't got to worry about anything, because, you know, God's going to take care of everything. And that was the bubble I was in. That was the mentality I was in. The mentality the crew were in, and the extended crew. By the extended crew, I mean the brothers who worked at the Haramain media department, Riyasa al-Haramain, who were with us as well. So altogether, you know, there was about 30 of us, and all of us were in this bubble together, you know, just so secure and safe in the knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wasn't going to let anything go wrong, you know, on the shoot. But yeah, I mean, the helicopter story is just one of countless stories I could tell you that actually, to me, represented miracles that happened there. It's a miraculous place at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why, even as filmmakers, right, as putting our faith in Allah in the middle of our filmmaking, we see what is able to manifest. And I love so many different parts of the film, but I love that you talk to the people running the social media, and you talk to a lot of different people there working in the haram, but you talk to the cleaners, right? And you talk to really the people on the ground. And I love there's 2 shots I love in particular. One is where you're asking everybody about what their prayers are that they're making there. And then the other one is the tracking shot that you have with the cleaners, where and it's amazing to me that, mashallah, you also did your own cinematography. So talk about that decision to shoot the film yourself, and what it was like, even, you know, talking to all the workers, including the cleaners.
So you know, earlier I mentioned it took 8 months to get the permissions to make the film, and you know, for you know, there were sporadic meetings with different people during that time, but most of the time it was waiting. You know, it was waiting. So I basically took this period of 8 months that I had as a really extended kind of pre-production, and you know, I would go around visiting the different departments of the haram, getting to know what they do, getting to know characters, and all the time in my mind I think, okay, this guy could look good on film. This guy comes across well, you know, all these kind of things. And you know, the shot that you mentioned, the tracking shot with the cleaners, I mean, that was for definite one of the shots we actually had on a shot list. So, you know, I got to the extent where you know, I was literally noting down shots. Some of the shots you saw in the trailer are actually hand sketched way before the shoot. The time lapses you saw, we had those in mind way before the shoot. They're all on a shot list. And obviously, I think one of the things that I learned working in the haram is that one of the biggest skills you need to have as a director is just to be adaptable in the haram.
Yeah.
Because you can make all the plans you want. You can write every single minute of every single day how the schedule is going to be, but then just be prepared to have those plans completely scuppered. And you know, you're going to be basically told, hey, you've got access to this place now. You've got it for the next 2 hours. You know, do your thing. You know, so you know, it was just a case of just being really adaptable and really going with the flow. And you know, sometimes we'd for example, we'd have a scene book, say we're doing a scene at the with the guys who provide the Zamzam around, and maybe, okay, the haram's too crowded now, so it's too much of a health and safety risk, so now you can't bring the crew in there. So we'd be like, okay, now what should we do, because I don't want to lose this 3-4 hour slot we had. But other times it would work favorably for us, because, you know, other times certain opportunities would come up and these guys would be, hey, there's an opportunity to film this now. Do you want to do it? I was like, and just make a split decision, say, yes, I think that would be a good scene for the film. Let's go there, you know, and then transport the whole crew there and film certain scenes. But yeah, we did have a lot of the shots, especially the trailer shots. They were kind of envisaged before, and I knew how they would look from spending so much time in Mecca and taking, you know, test shots and things like this. I knew those shots would be there, but some of the most beautiful shots were completely unscripted. They were we're just flowing, and the action is unfolding, and we're just following the action. I think a lot of the cleaning scene was like that, you know. Cleaning scene is a good point. In fact, you know, when we did the cleaning scene, I thought, okay, we're going to do this cleaning scene, and they're going to bring 5 or 6 cleaners, and we're going to film a little thing. And when I turned up there at the location, right at the Mataf, on the corner of the Mataf, they had over 100 cleaners sitting there, and they're all waiting for us. And when we got there, I saw these 100 cleaners, and I hadn't scripted anything, or I hadn't planned anything for 100 cleaners, but you know, it was a tremendous opportunity because suddenly there's an army of cleaners there. So you know, it was just a case of being adaptable and being able to just make the best out of any given situation in the haram, because you never know when the opportunity is going to come again.
It's almost like you choreographed them, you know. So you have like Busby Berkeley.
You know, Olivia, we actually shot behind the scenes as well. There was you know, I always give opportunities to younger filmmakers to come and shoot behind the scenes of my films. And we had this young lad there, he's shooting the behind the scenes. And when I was watching the footage of the behind the scenes, I was amazed, because basically there's all these cleaners. Now, the cleaners had cordoned off the haram to start with. So they put their red tape, and the crowd that was doing the making of the cut were going around them.
Yes.
They've all got water and they're spraying it everywhere. There's machines, there's cleaners, there's 100 people there, and they're all moving towards. And there's a scene there where I'm suddenly going, something must have happened technically with the camera, and I'm just going, cut. Everyone hold your positions. And like all of these 100 cleaners, they just held their position and waited until we fixed it, and then we're going again. You know, on the behind the scenes, it was just amazing to see that that's what was happening. But I can't actually remember going through that. Unless I watched that footage, you know.
It's organized chaos, but somehow it works. And then
the ultimate team sport, filmmaking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very much so.
Was there anything that you weren't allowed to shoot? Like I was wondering if there was going to be a scene inside the Kaaba, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's something.
A funny story, you know, because I have to be honest. You know, a lot of people ask me this question: did you have restrictions in the haram? For us, we didn't have any restrictions. There was zero restriction. We could have gone anywhere we wanted. And one of, you know, I mentioned the meeting that we had and how the aides came. They said, okay, what do you want? What kind of, you know, things? And I was saying, we need this, we need this, we need this. One of the very first things I said, we need to go inside the Kaaba. That's one of the first things that we need. And the thing is, they didn't say, no, you can't. They said, okay. But they said, we're not going to open the Kaaba doors, especially for you and your crew. We can't do that. But when we do open the doors for cleaning or for some other purpose, if that opportunity comes, you're more than welcome to go in with your camera. Only one person, just me and the camera, basically. That's it. That's what they authorized. So we were going to do that. But, you know, alhamdulillah, like I say, everything is ordained by God. And basically, they gave us that opportunity to do that. But our shoot schedule actually finished 4 days before that actually took place, before the cleaning of the inside of the Kaaba. So we end up not going in there. And for me, you know, as I say, I thought everything was ordained by God. So I figured that, well, if I didn't end up going in the Kaaba, even though these guys gave me the permission to go inside the Kaaba, then maybe that wasn't meant to be in the film. You know, maybe that was something that was going to be held back. And I felt completely comfortable with that, you know, even grateful, you know. I wasn't about to say, hey, we missed this shot and you know, that's really going to affect the film. I didn't feel like that at all. You know, whereas at the beginning of the shoot, I was very much, no, we have to go inside the Kaaba. That's very important. People have to see what's inside, But, you know, by the end of it, like I say, they'd given that opportunity, and I was very relaxed that we didn't get to go in there, because I thought everything was ordained by Allah, and that's the way it was meant to be.
Yeah, and I mean, from what some of my teachers have said about going inside the Kaaba, it's also a certain state that one ends up in when you're in the Kaaba. So maybe, Allah knows when we're ready for these things and not ready for these things.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah,
really beautiful. I wanna move on to more the discussion component. I think the film is really incredible. So on our website, the Center for Global Muslim Life, you can see the set of Hajj films that we put together. Let me share my screen so y'all can see that. And I think that, why don't you all talk? What are some of your favorite, besides your own films, what are your favorite films about Mecca or Hajj?
Well, Le Grand Voyage is a beautiful film. It's really the story of the journey going en route going there, because once they arrive, if you know the story of the Grand Voyage, Le Grand Voyage by Ismail Farouki, it's a beautifully told film. There it is.
Yeah, the other one I love is so I love Le Grand Voyage, and we have the trailer that we're going to show because it was actually recently remastered, and I highly encourage everyone to watch that film. In my opinion, that's one of the things that I see missing, is there's not enough narrative films about the full transformative power of what happens to people who go to Umrah, who go on Hajj. One of my favorite shots of all time is from this film Samsara, which is from the director Ron Fricke, who also directed Baraka. He directed Koyana Scotzi, some of the great, like, spiritual, contemplative films of all time that if people are interested, you should watch them.
Great shots in both of those films, and the shots of Mecca in that film are just amazing as well,
There's a videos film, of course, that we have the full film there. Abrar's film is on Amazon Prime in the US for streaming for free. So if you're there, I highly recommend you watch it. Of course, we talked about Circling the House of God, which is on Alchemia. There's a beautiful film by our brother Mehdi from Morocco, who was going to join us and he wasn't able to make it. I really love, in terms of a narrative style piece, I think that this film, this short piece, 15-minute piece in Oprah's film Belief, which is it's a 7-hour documentary about belief around the world, is probably my favorite piece ever, because it really shows that true transformative power in a documentary, and also the cinematography, and it's really, really incredible. This is a film from Malaysia that's actually a music video, but it's about Umrah and giving people the opportunity to go on Umrah. Journey to Mecca, of course, we talked about, but it's actually really difficult to find. And now you have this whole set of vloggers and things that are putting pieces out about Mecca that are nice, and that one's more youth oriented. Recently, there's this film, The Siege of Mecca, and then there's a really nice documentary series last year that's more global than anything I'd ever seen, from Al Jazeera, where you have this piece from the Uyghur community, from Japanese communities, Azerbaijan, from a brother traveling to Hajj from Panama. And also the last one is from India, talking about the luck of the draw. So let's show real quick the trailer from Le Grand Voyage.
ترى تمشي معايا نهار الحد إن شاء الله غتمشي.
Je peux pas partir comme ça. J'ai mon bac à passer, j'ai déjà raté une fois. C'est ma dernière chance.
كان تسربها في شويه وقف ترتاح شويه هنا.
Ouais, je suis pas fatigué. Tu sais que t'aurais pu nous tuer. Reviens d'ici, je dois m'absenter quelque temps.
T'as pas vu mon portable? قام وراك 300 كيلومتر طار الزلم.
Quoi? Pourquoi t'as pas pris l'avion pour faire ton pèlerinage? C'est quand même plus simple.
Je m'excuse, papa.
Ça fait 2 jours qu'on mange des sandwichs aux œufs et toi tu distribues les billets?
Je
que c'est comme ça que tu vas le finir tout seul ton voyage?
ملي غادي نوصلوا لدمشق غادي نبيع الطوموبيل. انا بعدا كنعرف نتصرف ما غاديش نتلف.
وكعبته طيف وبيته للأوثان وكعبته.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Le Grand Voyage, in my opinion, is one of the all-time great pieces of what I call global Muslim cinema, and it's amazing that. So apparently, it was remastered last year, and it was released. That remastered version was released in theaters in December of 2019. I know in the U.S. you can watch it on Tubi TV for free with commercials.
When was the original made? You know,
2004.
2004. It looks amazing. I've actually not seen that film, and but it looks like a real amazing film. I think I would enjoy that film.
Yeah,
I'm definitely going to check this out after this this show's finished. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it strikes you in a way spiritually that few films will, because and I think the trailer gave away too much, unfortunately, but it doesn't give away the most important parts of the film. And I think that also it's just.
No spoiler alert.
Yeah, no spoiler alert. Yeah, exactly. It's really beautiful, and it's and especially it touches on an issue that's so core to so many of our families, especially immigrant families, is the divide between the generations, right? The elderly father makes the son drive him to Mecca. He's like, why didn't you fly? So anyway,
do they actually in that film? Do they end up in Mecca? Do they have scenes of them on the mataf or things like this at the end?
Yeah.
Maybe,
so we don't know spoilers, but that's the end of the film is in Mecca.
Oh, mashallah, nice, yeah. And I think also one film that you haven't got there, but maybe should be there just for scenes that it's got in there is Malcolm X by Spike Lee. He had some fantastic shots of Mecca there as well. I did a lot of research on that film recently and found out some of the background on that. And there's also an amazing film. You've definitely put together a really cool collection of films here, and I'm certainly going to check.
Absolutely.
I actually thought, because when I did the research for one day, I actually thought I'd watched everything that had been produced about Mecca, because I spent the longest time just watching everything. I certainly watched all of Ovidio's films as part of that research. But I missed these. I missed this film, this narrative, maybe because it's a narrative film, and I didn't think any narrative films had been made in Mecca. So, yeah, that's very, very interesting for me as well.
Yeah, then a couple more points on what I think is missing, kind of the future of film. I agree with you completely about Malcolm, and that's a big mistake of mine. I love Malcolm. I mean, Malcolm's behind me here.
Great scenes.
And Betty Shabazz, right? Is that he's so many of, he was my guide to Islam. He was my door to Islam. But I think that even making a piece just about Malcolm internationally and the role that he played there, right there needs to be like a Netflix show basically about Malcolm, in my opinion, right? That's the depth in which we should do the biography justice. But I think the other unique thing about the Hajj films that I thought about recently is that they don't go to Medina. Like, what is Mecca without Medina for the Hujjaj, right? We know that spiritually, that's an interesting point that I thought of. What are any other points that you all thought of in terms of what's missing on Hajj films?
In terms of Medina, just because you mentioned that, I forgot to mention that when we were getting the permission, we got the permissions from Sheikh Sadais for One Day in the Haram. He actually gave us the permissions for the Haramain, which is Mecca and Medina. And basically everyone, for the longest time, people who were associated with this film thought we were going to shoot part of the film in Mecca and then part of the film in Medina. But what had happened is that by the time we got into the film in Mecca and we saw how much there was there, and I thought, well, this is going to end up being a 3-hour, 4-hour film unless something happens there. So we basically decided not to go to Medina, and we said basically, look, Medina deserves its own film, and Mecca deserves its own film. So yeah, one of the things is that we were meant to go back, inshallah, and film the second part of One Day in the Haram, which would be One Day in Medina. So hopefully that will be coming soon, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yeah, when we filmed the Journey of a Lifetime for the BBC, we took the Hujjaj up to Medina, or they were in Medina. So we did film sequences with them, and I had it in the rough assembly. But if you only have 1 hour, and I tried to kind of let the rhythm of the actual Hajj kind of be mimicked in the film. So there was really no space to include it, unfortunately. Otherwise, it would have been felt like you were shoehorning it into the film.
Exactly. Yeah. You would have felt that you weren't doing it justice in a way, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I felt. Yeah. That's how I felt as well.
I mean, there is definitely a film. I mean, I've filmed in Medina for, again, all on 35mm cinema for about 8 years, you know, because I filmed the extension to the Prophet's Mosque there.
Nice. Nice.
And including standalone films on the umbrella, you know, the umbrellas, the sliding domes, but these were more industrial, you would say, more for the.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
You know, for the construction company and things, but so they're not really quite, you know, for a general audience, I think.
And the other piece that's definitely missing is more female-centric perspectives in films, right? And I think that I even in doing the research of what I found, there are women's stories embedded in some of the films, like Ovidio's film. Mashallah, of course, there's some nice features there, and even dealing with identity and things, but nothing that's just about a woman's journey.
No,
right?
I had a proposal and actually have a lot of like a good pitch document for a film on Lady Evelyn Cobbold, who was this aristocratic Scottish, I don't know, baroness or what was it, lady, anyway.
Would you make
she made the Hajj in 1938 or something like this? So it would be a feature film, really.
I've heard this story as well, an amazing story about
this
aristocratic lady from back in the day who converted very early to Islam and said, I want to go to Hajj and made this amazing journey out there. I've heard this story and definitely that has got some potential, yeah, for sure.
So well, maybe we'll have to generate some idea to
the
get
Begums of Bhopal, and they have like a very deep relationship to the city of Mecca, and a lot of people there. So Allah knows, inshallah. So we
are
pray
films to be
for everyone to any final advice for young filmmakers undertaking this journey of filming Hajj or Umrah or spirituality in film?
Yeah, Abrar, go please.
Okay, I would just say, look, when you're making a film in Mecca, it's like I said before, it's not ordinary. I would people feel differently about different things. I would advise people, don't treat it like a normal project. No. Don't treat it like any other paid job that you're doing or something that you're creating. Really just treat it with the reverence that it deserves. I find one of the things that I fear the most for Mecca is over commercialization of Mecca. I know that now, alhamdulillah, with the kind of level of contacts that we've built in Saudi Arabia over the years, and I know, with the level of financing that's available now, it could well be possible to make a narrative film in Mecca. But for me personally, I've never gone towards that side. Like I always feel I really don't want to do that because I just fear the over commercialization of it. So all I would say to anyone who's going out there, enjoy the experience, definitely push it on further. I've learned from watching all these amazing films that were made in the past, including the films of Ovidio here. These films inspired me to go to Mecca, and so I hope my film as well will inspire a future generation of Muslim filmmakers, Muslim creatives who want to go to Mecca and do something special for their religion, to reflect their religion and reflect the beauty of Mecca. And so all I would say is go ahead and do that. Just keep your intentions in that place very, very clear, and just try not to over commercialize it, and just treat it with the love and respect that it deserves.
MashaAllah.
Ameen.
Ameen, inshallah. Ovidio.
Well, look, just stand on our shoulders and take it to the next level. I don't know, whatever. It's like Abrar said, he felt like he was almost like a chosen to have that opportunity. But I think if your intention is right, if you approach it in the right way, it's not easy though. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, So I don't know what, it depends upon what you know, if you're somehow compelled to write a story or write a film script that is about find another angle, find a unique way of telling your story, and hopefully it will gain traction, and you'll be able to realize it. That's all I can say. I mean, I'm still making films about aspects of Mecca, like the Bennaceri family, who have held the keys to the Kaaba since before Islam. I've done interviews with them, and I haven't been able to finish the film, and others. So I'm still working in that field, but it's obviously right now it's very difficult to look into the future and see how we can advance those stories. But
it surely is for all of us. But thank you both for taking the time. Thank you for your support.
Our pleasure, and really, and let us take our hats off to you, sir, for providing this incredible service for Muslims around the world. This is a wonderful opportunity for people to engage with with our humble efforts and the efforts of other filmmakers to present Islam in a positive light, and to show there is an alternative narrative, and this wonderful, and this to celebrate the Hajj in a sense. These are only pale reflections, but it is there for us to reflect upon on the horizon in ourselves.
Yeah, mashallah, and you both have been really supportive of the film festival, and inshallah, this is our first monthly program. We plan on having programs every month as we lead into the 2021 festival. And if you want to watch any of the sessions from the 2020 festival, they're on our website. Thank you again, Abrar. Thank you again, Ovidio. Inshallah, we'll see you both soon. We have one more section coming up. Inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Hajj mabrur.
Yeah, Ameen, inshallah. Next, we have two amazing campaigns from Launch Good coming up that we wanted to feature. First, we have our sister Ombreen Jabbar. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I heard you're a filmmaker also.
No, not yet.
Yeah. Inshallah, one day. Inshallah, one day. Okay, so tell us about the work that you're doing at Lote Tree Academy.
Right. So first of all, Jazakallah khair for having us on, and for helping us through our fundraising campaign. My name's Ombreen. I have my master's in education, and I've become very passionate about homeschooling. I'm a big homeschooling advocate. And so what we're trying to, I feel homeschooling is a very personalized and wonderful route for education. But I've also realized that as a parent, it can sometimes be hard to start that route because you don't always have the resources at hand. You have to kind of find your own co-ops here and there, classes for your kids. And so what we're doing with Lote Tree Academy Co-op in Gainesville, Florida, is we're essentially creating a homeschool resource center so that parents and families who want to homeschool have a place where they can come, and we are going to offer study rooms, and we'll have one parent, and then we're hiring we have University of Florida in Gainesville, so we're hiring University of Florida students to also act as academic coaches. So we'll have 5 study rooms, 4 students in a room, and 2 academic coaches. Families can bring in whatever curriculum they want to use. Since it is homeschooling, they can use eSchool, or they can use their own homeschool, personalized homeschool curriculum. And they come in, they do their academics. We'll start the day off with dhikr and stories of the prophets, and go into the academics, into our different study rooms with 4 students and 2 academic coaches. We'll offer electives to gear it more towards whatever the children's wants, whatever it's, whether it's sewing or cooking, robotics, engineering. And alhamdulillah, we're able to have, we got a home on 5 acres of land. So we're still able to create that home feeling, and And so we have a lot of greenery. The children are able to have fun and explore in this area. We have a tennis court on the property, and we're going to use that as a basketball court as well. We're going to create one of the rooms in the home to be a library, an activity room where the kids can play board games and do puzzles, art tables, and there's just so much that we can do with this. And I feel that by creating a resource center like this, that families who want, sometimes I feel that it's a little intimidating for families to start homeschooling. And by creating this, I'm kind of hoping that we can lessen that intimidation and create more of that family environment, that whole, it takes a family, a village to raise a child. And I feel like we're able to create that village by kind of creating this homeschool co-op resource center, essentially. And so there's so many aspects that we're hoping to do with this year. Of course, with COVID, it's a lot of families have been interested in it, but this has been a dream and a passion of mine that I've had for many years. So, I'm just launching it. It happens to be a time where many families are looking for this, but I'm very hopeful that it will continue after COVID, because I think it's a great educational route. I think it's a great way for children to stay involved with their families, to have a personalized education, to have a spiritual education, to explore the area around them, to for families and parents to be able to cater to the type of learning and education that our children want. So, and also we're doing this Launch Good fundraising campaign, especially this year, because we're launching it for the first year. And so, we need to get our study room set up, and we want to create this house, the home that we have, into a home that is like a home for the families that are taking part in it, but also create an excellent learning environment where the children are coming in and, we have resources at hand as families that are going to be taking part in it. So, that's the basic gist of what we're doing. And I don't know if, there's any questions on this, or, how
Yes, so what do you have? Is it only in Florida, or can people access resources online as well?
Yeah, no. So, a big thing for me is I like hands-on learning. And so it's not necessarily, we're not going to really have any online classes or anything like that at this time. It's, and we're keeping the numbers very small, minus COVID. I like to keep the numbers small too, just because I think it's really important for young children to be able to be in a small group so that they can discuss and explore. So that's the main point of this, is just for children to have a very personalized form of education, and for families to have that resource at hand. Because I know as a parent, and even though I'm an educator, in some areas I might have maybe an advantage in curriculum and whatnot. Even as an educator going into homeschooling, I've lived in a few different cities. I have 3 children. It's always a little intimidating to start in a new place. And even if it's not a new place, just finding resources, starting the whole, homeschooling, in a new place, it's a lot to kind of make sure that your kids are involved with everything. And so, in this way, I feel, because a lot of times I talk to families and they love the idea of homeschooling, but they don't know where to start. So this is a place where we can start, and we can work together as families. And it's going to be Monday to Thursday. Families can obviously choose which days they want to come, but we're going to have it Monday to Thursdays, 9 to 4 p.m. There's going to be a set time where they do academics. Then we have the spiritual classes. And our focus is, even for the spiritual classes, to make it very small group, halakha style. We're not using a textbook. We're letting the children love their religion for what, through stories, through reflections, through small group halakha, so that the children really learn to love their religion. And we're also keeping it open to the non-Muslim community our community at large. So right now we have some families on our waiting list that are non-Muslims too, and we hope to just keep it open to the community at large as well. I mean, we're offering our spiritual classes and whatnot, but we also are just, we're hoping to keep it open to everyone.
MashaAllah. So yeah, I shared the link below. I'll also share it in the comments if you want to support the Lotri Academy for Homeschooling Resource Center. We all need this right now. My kids are going crazy. So we definitely need more homeschooling resources. May Allah bless you in your journey and continue to bless those around you who are working on the project. And inshallah, you're an institution that's around for many, many years and decades to come, inshallah. Inshallah.
Thank you, Jazakallah.
Thank you for joining us. All right, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
And next we have our brother Ahmed Youssef. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, brother.
How are you doing, brother?
For hosting this. I'm doing well, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. This is, first of all, I want to thank you guys for having us. This has been an amazing program. It brought tears to my eyes to see the Kaaba and to see the entrance of from going from Jeddah to Mecca. It's a truly emotional year for all Muslims around the globe. And I pray for the safety and the health for all the ummah. And may Allah bring back the pilgrimage and allow us to visit his house again and again and again. My name is Ahmed Youssef, and I'm here on behalf of A Continuous Charity. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, it's really an honor to have you. Thank you, brother Ahmed. You're doing super important work. We're talking about films and filmmakers and artists, which means that we all have what? A whole bunch of student debt. So
exactly.
May Allah bless you for your work and trying to alleviate all of our riba and our student debt. And it's a huge problem for the American Muslim community, especially. So do your thing, and I'll show the screen while you're talking, inshallah, about your campaign.
Thank you, brother Dustin. Actually, I wanted to kind of at times when we're donating, charity can feel like almost like a black hole where we just putting in money and money and money, but the results are not really accounted for as the amount have been donated. And alhamdulillah, A Continuous Charity follows a really great model of recyclable charity. And indeed, is every dollar that you put in any charity, it comes back and helps out more people and keeps on giving. What's really beautiful about A Continuous Charity is that we've been around since 2013, and we've been able to give almost nearly $3 million in student loans. This year alone, we actually have been requested almost $16 million in student loans. There's over 500,000 Muslims in the general student body in the US, and some people account for even more. The number could be a lot larger. What's really beautiful about the organization is we are focusing on holistically empowering our Muslim student body in the United States by providing interest-free loans. Interest itself, as in our religion, it has a great forbidden attributes within the deen itself. And many of us kind of overlook that element. But if we really look deeply into interest, that when you commit almost or deal with riba, you are at war with Allah Azza wa Jal. And may Allah have mercy on us and forgive us. It's a really great act that I believe us as Muslims should be striving towards supporting and empowering one another to help us break the chains of riba and allow our Muslim student body to become a debt-free from interest, as well as reach their full potential. So the goal here is to empower the Muslim student body to reach their full potential. So we have the next Nobel Prize winner from here, from our community, a Muslim community. We have the next Elon Musk. We need to have the next Steve Jobs. The only way for us to do that is to empower our student body to get to reach their full potential. And interest at times can actually feel as a tool of oppression or a tool of injustice that truly is built to tie down a certain disadvantaged community to never reach their full potential. And with that being said, I really encourage everyone that is watching us, everyone that is home, to be able to help us to achieve our goal and achieve our mission. And by helping us, every dollar truly stays in the system for God knows generations and generations and generations to come. And it's a really beauty of it is that we're able to take the dollar and see the magnitude to come, generations and generations to come. And the website, I guess you have shared it. Thank you, Brother Dustin. Everybody can go on there, help us reach our goal. We truly appreciate it. Actually, I want to take a moment in the midst of this civil rights movements and the uprising that we're having and the unrest of the Black community. We as an organization took a progressive step towards, listen, we have been helping out. A lot of the students that have been applying are Muslims. They're coming in from an Arab background. They're coming in from a brown background. But here's the thing: we have almost overlooked the whole community, which plays a majority of the Muslim population in America, which is the African American community. And from that, we're actually launching on LaunchGood a program to empower the inner city, to empower our Muslim brothers and sisters that live in the inner city, to provide interest-free loans. And we are actually giving $50,000 from our general fund to empower that program, inshallah. So please support us. Whatever you can give, it goes a long way. If you have any questions, brother, please tell me.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair. So is that part of this specific fundraising campaign, or do you have another fundraising page also?
So currently we are launching the interest-free loans. For right now, we are fundraising for general interest-free loans. The program, it will be launched post Dhul Hijjah, inshallah, for the inner city program.
Okay, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's really, really important work. Again, it's really amazing to see all the incredible institutions and campaigns that are on LaunchGood. May Allah bless you in your work and alleviate all of our debt. I mean, including my own. I mean, I have a master's degree. I was in grad school for way too long. So inshallah, we all need to get rid of our student loan debt. Inshallah.
I mean, you should definitely apply for ACC. We have a refinance program.
Thank you. Yeah, I would love to. I'll have to do it.
Inshallah.
That encouragement. I'm putting myself out there to show the community how important it is. Here I am with a bunch of kids and student loan debt because of America. And inshallah, may Allah alleviate all the debt of all the students around the world. And inshallah, we get good political leaders at some point that change our education system. With that, we're going to be out. We'll see you all tomorrow, inshallah, for day 4 of our Hajj of the Hearts program with, I believe, Chris and Amani, inshallah, talking about LaunchGood and all the amazing Dhul Hijjah campaigns. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Bye.